Hey, we are live.
And it is
Hey, Zay.
Friday evening. It's Friday evening. It is the fourth Friday of the month, aftermath of what some will call a holiday, others may call it something else.
Well,
Uh,
whatever the
you're,
people call it, Zay.
you're tuned into another edition, a holiday abridged edition of all the politics of local America's number one hip hop and talk radio show. We'll have a full hour dedicated to our beloved disciples, as is our practice every fourth Friday. And we will be talking about a number of things in the custom and fashion as they usually do. I am Zaid Muhammad, here with my colleague, the co-founding producer of all politics of local, the great Jonathan Austin, and we're getting ready to
Wow.
take a ride.
All right. Well, I appreciate having you here too, man. Zaid Muhammad, legendary activist, amazing person, person who's involved. I've been involved for over 40 years, and in many different liberation struggles, especially New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. If it's something that's going on, not only is he involved, he knows many people who have been involved and can literally give you an entire history about it. Right. So, valuable resource, good friend, good person. Glad to have you on, man. So,
And we need to shout
should
out
we
your sisters before we do go any further. I just found out her birthday was a couple of days ago. Totally missed it. The great author and educator, retired educator, Annette Austin just had a birthday. So some b-day love to the great author Annette Austin, right? Who's probably
absolutely,
tuning in in
absolutely.
Atlanta, right? Got to give her some love. Got to give the queen some love.
All right. Well, and let me and continue from there. I'm gonna just make sure everybody has the link. Zahid, you there?
So they'll be coming. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
here. Now
All right. Well,
so
just
they should be coming in
continue on. I'm
momentarily.
gonna make sure they get the link.
Okay, all right. A lot has happened. And for folks who are wondering why I use the guarded language about the holiday, several things need to be said. One, Thanksgiving, as it is known and it has been nurtured and used in the American context, is a very colonized holiday. It's a day where the conquerors of this land celebrate their arrival, their moment, right? The beginning of their new world adventure of domination, right? For those who are already here, it means something else. It is a national day of mourning. I was supposed to spend yesterday in Plymouth Rock with the indigenous family in Massachusetts, but some transportation difficulties blocked that, so I couldn't get up there. The great and the late Khalid Abdul Muhammad gave us something called Jiname, an alternative, a new African alternative to Thanksgiving, where if the colonizers are going to celebrate their ancestors, why not? Why should we not celebrate ours and tell their stories and take those stories back from the clutches of colonial domination? So it's with that kind of guarded language that I use that language to express the character of which took place yesterday. As however you choose to see it and you observe it is up to you. But I had to lay out that background so it's clear. I hope we can talk about and something that happened also that put a ugly aura or cloud over the holiday in Newark. One of our beloved activists was attacked and mishandled and badly treated and maltreated by the police in an incident that absolutely shouldn't happen. And I'm talking about none other than Sharif Hotep, as if he hasn't been through enough.
Great,
That's a
great, Bryant.
whole
Yes, sir.
story that we can get into. But Pastor Ali has just popped in. I know Reverend and Councilman Louise Scott-Rountree was trying to pop in. Let them pop in and let them pop it off because it's
Right,
that
right.
time.
Roundtree is not at backstage, but we have Pastor Ali here, uh, and uh, and definitely have to talk about what happened. But welcome, Pastor Ali.
Thank you so much, man. I'm having trouble getting in, but I'm here.
All
Yes,
right,
sir.
Complaints, no complaints,
Yes, sir.
no complaints. Brother in the house.
absolutely.
So Yeah, with all things, all politics being local, and just what Zaid was talking about, our brother Sharif. I mean, I was very disappointed in that whole atmosphere, whole situation. When I saw the pictures of him last night, it affected me, and I try to stay positive in what has been a negative time for me. But I'm trying to stay positive in the midst of negative circumstances, and considering what he has been through, it just added on to it. And I'm curious on how long that bus been there without a problem. How long Sharif been on that corner without major problems? And then out of the clear blue sky, you're gonna come and tow the man's bus before Black Friday. He probably had a lot of his material loaded on there and getting ready for this weekend and stuff like that. And I mean, just gonna tow his truck, tow his bus.
Can we get like a synopsis of what happened? I know that that he is a incredibly well respected activist, worker, person who deals with violence within the city, has saved lives of people. Like he has saved multiple lives of people in the city based on the work that he's done. And so, like, he is a very well respected person within the community. What happened?
Well,
I'm gonna let Zaid go into more than that because I got secondhand information from Sister.
Yeah, here's a short version of it. Addition to being, a key player in what is now the Brick City Peace Collective, in addition to having been the soul of the mighty Newark Anti-Violence Coalition, and one of the remaining soldiers of the New Black Panther Party in this area. In addition to having taken our work on the road in the face of having lost his daughter in South Carolina and bringing national attention to the treatment or the lack of serious attention being given to missing Black girls and Black women, with the loss of his daughter a little while ago when we lost Sanam and Hotep in South Carolina, right? Sharif is a vendor. He has a side business as a vendor. He has a stand that has been his stand for several years now at Brantford and Broad Street, right on the corner. He has a red, black, and green minibus in which he transports his wares that he sells from that position. And apparently was some hostility towards him and his bus. And as it got back to him, he was told that he would have to move the bus at the end of the business day every day and not leave it overnight. Apparently that was an old issue, right? But he had been compliant since it had become an issue. And then all of a sudden, sometime early on Wednesday, he found himself surrounded by a flood of Newark police officers who were executing the towing of the bus as if they were evicting him from his home.
Wow.
It took on that character. And at some point, and this is me getting this from Deputy Mayor Rahman Muhammad and Tyrone Street Council Barnes, who were there on the scene. It was very important they were on the scene. Listen to how the story unfolds. Something was amiss as they were trying to tow the vehicle underneath the bus, and it looked like one of the officers was trying to cut something underneath the bus. Sharif, who was really just taken aback by what was happening, got up under the bus himself just to see what the hell this officer was doing, and wound up getting injured very bad. He wound up breaking his foot in 2 places.
Oh no!
Right? And it was arrested in the process, right? But what amplifies this and makes it worse, this is something that took place in broad daylight, right? It appeared to have been not in violation of any law, right? We're told anecdotally that it was being driven by an order given by the business administrator of the city, as if, and I don't know since when the the business administrator of any town can tell the police what to do,
Right.
you know. And the place was the area was swarming with a number of police, uniformed and white shirts, none of whom seemed to even know who Sharif was. Right?
Wow, when he works with them on the
and nobody in the anti-violence side of our work is more visible than him.
Right.
But here's where it gets even funkier.
But like, in other words, he to make this even more, like, he literally works to help prevent violence in the city, working with the public safety police portion, as in like they're in the same goal, like they have the same goals, right? Like
the same goals.
I don't
Community-based violence intervention is a parallel public safety strategy that works, that's parallel to what the police can do and what the police cannot do, and it's gotten some very high profile success stories here in this town. But let me finish this story because I want to lift that up. That's important that you raise that. Right on the scene, Rahman Muhammad, who's a deputy mayor of the city and no stranger to this airways. Rahman has been on, right?
A lot.
Tyrone Street Barnes Council, who was a former member of the NAVC, who's worked with us, right? Was happened to be on the scene, and there was a whole lot of people on the block on the scene too, who were seeing and were outraged about what was happening to Sharif. Right. What are y'all doing to Sharif? And they were standing up to the police. And so you had a situation, you had a nearly explosive situation that could have turned into a minor insurrection, right?
Wait, so you had
Rahman and Street Council were trying to talk to both the police and the public. Now the police totally disregarded the deputy mayor of this town. Totally disregarded. Wow. Okay. The people, on the other hand, thank goodness, listened and respected Street Council and Rahman and kept that thing from going up in fire. It was a dangerous,
when he got hurt. Right, especially when he got hurt.
Folks were not going to stand by and let them vamp on Sharif the way they were doing. So shout out to the people who made that noise, but at the same time, when some leadership did emerge to try and de-escalate that, they responded to that and respected that, right? But the police definitely need to be checked on that, because that is absolutely unacceptable. Now let's go further.
This happened on Thanksgiving. This happened yesterday?
Wednesday. We spent the whole day in the hospital worried about Sharif's well-being, because when he was arrested, they had to take him to the hospital. And that would not have happened had not Rahman insisted that he be given that treatment, because he was he was clearly injured when they was trying to figure out what was going on under that bus. Wow. Right? So here's the piece that here's to amplify your point, Jonathan. Right? 2 years ago, the hot summer 2020, George Floyd's summer, a summer of the largest protest activity this country has seen in its entire history, right? When it came to Newark, anticipating that there could be some issues in the streets, our community-based violence intervention teams were out when there were people in Newark in the tens of thousands in the street protesting around George Floyd. And when a segment of that march, right, broke off and tried to start something at the first precinct, our forces that included Sharif, right, were in place, did their work, checked the knuckleheads who were trying to do something that weren't even from Newark, right? And with the aid of the community and the police understanding their role, let them do their work and averted, a serious incident from happening at the first precinct. An important milestone, groundbreaking demonstration of that parallel strategy working together. And then just last week, we had an incident
So
Where
so let me break. So let me just just on that. What you pointed out is that literally he helped the part of the city he works with, the part of the community organizations that he works with, helped literally keep the police safe 2 years ago during the George Floyd
keep
protest.
the whole
That's
city
what you
safe.
just told me.
The
The whole,
police
the
and
whole
the whole city safe.
yes, the whole city safe, but also very particularly there was some heat on the police, as there
And
was all over the country during those protests, that he kept them safe as well. Yes, the whole city safe, but the police who brutalized him, he kept them safe 2 years ago. That's what I'm hearing.
you're getting the picture. Now let's go even deeper. Last week, 2 police officers come under fire from a brother in a mental health crisis. 2 police officers get hit. They don't just come under fire; they get hit. The block is in Bedlam, in the South Ward, right? Interestingly enough, a lot of folks come out not knowing what's going on, but coming out wanting to be engaged and being engaged. Some even came to the aid of the police officers, but at the same time, police officers were limited in what they could do because they indeed were rolling as if they were under fire, right? So our anti-violence folks, our violence intervention folks were on the scene. Not only did they do critical work around crowd control and trying to, keep people back and keep people safe, but then there was the residents in the building where the shooter was who had to be quickly moved out of that building into a safe space in a nearby school and be attended to at the school. The police couldn't do that. Our community-based violence intervention folks did that. That story has not gotten out in what happened in that incident, and that should get out. And in fact, I was trying to lay the groundwork to do a story on that when this incident comes up with the reef. So in all of this, right, in a city, huh?
So what you're saying is that what he has been able to do, even as of a few weeks ago, came into play when the police themselves were again under attack, and the anti-violence initiative that he leads, right? As they has had a leadership role in, at visible facing, intervened to de-escalate, to keep people safe, including police officers who were literally under fire.
And assisted police officers who were literally under fire. So here's what's
rides it greatly.
That's right. Now, so what we're saying is that at every step of this incident, it was wrongly handled by anybody who was on the official side of what happened. And had it not been for Deputy Mayor Rahman Muhammad and Street Council Barnes, we would have had a major incident that went well beyond what would happen to Sharif in a singular way. And so what are we really talking about? Newark is under a major, epic police reform effort. And that includes the development of a nationally respected, listen to me, nationally respected community-based violence intervention strategy, right? That has reduced violent crime in our town, in spite of its continuing challenges, by some 50%, especially when it comes to homicide, right? There's some things going on here in Newark on that side of the work that we should all know and all be proud of. And police and police leadership should especially be aware of its place, its value, and the strategic significance. It should know that this is all about making peace and keeping peace, right? The best practices of de-escalation of any kind of crisis, even if it includes one of our own, should be in play. The opposite happened. It was a horrible scenario, and there's a lot that has to be done to clean that up. So we are sending our love out to my warrior son, the young man I love the hell out of, right? Sending out shout outs to Deputy Mayor Rahman Muhammad and Tyrone Street Council Barnes. Behind the scenes, we must also shout out Mayor Baraka and the new police chief who's there, and he's getting a serious education on what being the public safety director in this town means in this particular historical moment. Fradje, who both worked behind the scenes to make sure that Sharif was released from custody, and we're hoping that these charges that are being thrown at him get dropped, because that's what should happen. And that whole incident has to be taken apart and has to be addressed to the fullest, because under no circumstances should that have even happened. That shouldn't have even happened. And I have a piece coming out that I was literally working on right before we start out, that I'm going to send out to the press and to the community to lay out how I see it as a veteran in this work, and what should happen to clean that up. So we had to lay that shout out. I'm sure the other things that Pastor wants to talk about. I know Pastor has a lot to say about it, because Pastor, this is one, my brother here, Pastor Bryant Ali, pastor in the hood, is one of the few clergy persons, him, Louise, Scott-Rountree, right? And later he was then Jackson, Minister Jackson X, now Abdul Haqq. They were the few clergy who voluntarily got out here with us. Me and Ali have been doing anti-violence work almost parallel tracks. We will follow. I've been trying to track him down since the 90s, trying to piece out this violence, right?
I think one of the challenges
he got something to say about Sharif.
I think one of the challenges is with the new director, Fritz Moss, I believe Fritz, that came over from the state police. I think one of the challenges is that I believe the brother Heart is sincere with the twice odd times I've been in his presence. And he, I believe that he wants to do right. I think one of the challenges is that while this transition is going on, you have no clear leadership at the top. That nobody underneath the lower ranks know what's really going on when the upper rank, when you look at the situation with the young fella that had the police at bay all night long a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
And they were looking all over for him. And he was in that same building all the time.
Right.
When you look at all the different groups that came together, I'm talking about law enforcement and stuff like that, that they had no clear leadership at the top, because those who come into our areas don't really know who the players are on the civilian side. Like they were going off. They didn't know Rahman as a deputy mayor. They don't see us as being in position of power, so to speak, our position of authority. It should have fell under his direction right then, in collaboration with whoever the officer was in charge, the lieutenant or the captain. They should have been working together in this situation and not independent. Because number one, no crime had been committed, number one, so to speak. Number two, they're still trying to recover from the embarrassment that the brother over off Lyons Avenue did around the world. It was shown around the world. They carried him out grinning. And they were looking for him, and he had, did what he did, but they couldn't find him in one building. So it goes to show, when you have all these different entities come together, there's no true leadership in charge. Who takes charge? And here it is, when the hood comes together, when the community comes together, at least the different players know each other. So if it's the street team, others can yell and say, well, this is the street team area. If the North Anti-Violence Coalition, they've been doing this for a long time. Yield to them, or whoever, yield to them, or work together collaboratively so we can get a positive solution to this. Understand that Sharif been through enough trauma. And when we talk about trauma
God.
in the neighborhood, so all the people that was out there in Branford Place was traumatized, because how can you do this to Sharif? Not there, don't get me wrong, Sharif is not an angel. Sharif has his past. Sharif has his struggles in his present. But when it comes to the community, he's A-OK, and he's about that first at the dismissal of what he got to do for his family at the time, his babies or whatever. And here it is, he's out trying to make an honest living. He don't sell drugs. He don't get high. And all he wants to do is make money, take care of his family, and serve the community.
Yeah. And how can that be? You know, in a town this size, there cannot be questions about leadership in your military forces. That's totally unacceptable. Also, you know, and that played out. But the other thing is that
I was going to say, even on that, right? Like, Bubba Z, can you talk just a little bit, elaborate on that? In that, you're like, because I didn't know, I actually didn't know we had new leadership in the police department.
Oh yeah, we got a brother came over from the state police.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And but even if we have new leadership at that level, it seems like, I don't know, the police would know who the deputy mayor was. Like the rank and file would know, like,
and should have known that, regardless of who the
leadership is, right? Like you work in the city. You work in a city where you have to understand where police reform is a thing, and you have no idea who the people are who are literally keeping you safe. No, that's ridiculous.
But understand, they arrested the deputy mayor because the deputy mayor has been in a couple of protests. I remember it was a couple of years ago, him and the street doctor got arrested at the same time. Laid out Earl Best.
Right.
But many times they act like they don't know who individuals are. Just because they know who they are does not mean they respect them.
Fair enough.
And we still have a racism problem in Essex County, not just Newark. In Essex County, we got everything black downtown. But that doesn't mean that the greater community respect all of that color downtown.
Now it's interesting because and Zaid, you were going to make another point. I'm going to throw that back at you before I bring up the next thing.
No, Pastor Ali just basically said it. Is that given the depth of this in the scope of this reform effort, police leadership should know and should respect who the community leaders are and who the elected leaders are. They should know that, right? So it was bad that Sharif was mistreated, but it was doubly bad that the deputy mayor was mistreated, right? And had he been any less known, and the deputy mayor has a community organizing and labor organizing background and is well known, thankfully. Had he been any less known, and the people who were agitated not know who he was, we would have had an incident that exponentially worse than what happened to Sharif by himself, that could have set back all this good work that had been done to repair the image of this town in the last few years in a finger snap. It's because heads don't want to listen and be respectful, right? And and underneath that, it just appears to be a bad move. It was just it was uncalled for. If the young man was in compliance with the city ordinance and was not doing anything wrong, what was the need to push onto that man's vehicle and start that mess? It was just totally unwarranted. Totally unwarranted. And it really could have turned into something really, really dangerous on all sides.
And it's one of those things where it could have been explosive.
Absolutely.
And it's the very reason why we need a civilian complaint review board that has teeth. And so that they can.
The CCRB should get that and take that case apart. Top to bottom, what went wrong with the incident, right? What went wrong with the incident? and city and police leadership need to sit down and make sure that the proper safeguards and policies are put in practice so something like that doesn't happen again. And it looks like it was driven by the business administrator, right? And Newark is too big a town for a business administrator. And this business administrator comes from Orange, a town a quarter the size of Newark, right?
Now, before we say that, are you because I don't want to spread rumors that may or may not be true. So,
I'm saying this anecdotally. You're right. I'm saying this anecdotally, right?
And so we should just chill on the because we don't know, right? We shouldn't call people out if we don't actually know factually that is there, and that's my only caveat.
Yeah, right? That's what it appears that this is driven coming out of his office, and some safeguards need to be put in place to, assuming that was the case, right?
Well, let's not assume that. Let's just say we don't know, right? We don't know where it came from. There are rumors that it came from within the city, but we don't necessarily. But we have no confirmation of that because we don't want to put someone out there when we don't.
But it absolutely needs to be investigated from that point going down the line. Absolutely,
right?
That's for sure.
Absolutely, and what I was going to also say is that what can the CCR right now? We know that the CCRB doesn't have certain powers that we wanted it to have. It was kind of gutted by the state leadership, right? What can the CCRB do?
The CCRB should be able to do an investigation of it, right, from a policy practice standpoint, and that investigation should indicate, where fixes need to be made, where reforms need to take place, and detail what went wrong, right?
And of course,
one of the limitations put on the CCRB is that it does not have subpoena power, and it has to wait. It has to, wait until anything happens out of internal affairs. Now, internal affairs has gone through some reform, right? It remains to be. This is going to be a big test for internal affairs to see whether or not this can be investigated properly from within their authority, and address that honestly. For instance, right? Everybody on hand in that scene on the police side should have had their body cameras on, right?
Right.
That hasn't even come up, right? There's not a doubt in my mind that somebody on the community side was trying to videotape that, right? Those folks would come forward and give their video footage either to the Brick City Peace Collective, which Sharice works with, and or to the CCRB. So when the CCRB does have the capacity to move forward on an investigation, they have that in hand to work with, right? So that's it's iffy. That's why one of the reasons why this fight for the CCRB having its necessary authority is important, right? So it just sharpens the need for strong civilian oversight of the police in the big picture way, to be sure, right? So, but either way, they can still play a role in addressing this incident to have it and having it cleaned up. It takes longer. It takes much longer without the authority, right? But the CCRB, as we know it, even with its limitation, does not have the baggage of distrust and corruption that the police department does have, and is under the radar scope of a federal monitor as a consequence.
Right.
So,
well, yeah.
Since this is a prayer space, our prayers go out to Sharif, to his family, that he heals. He probably should lawyer up, right? Because this. I'm not a lawyer, but this appears to have some serious legal implications of another kind for him that he may need to consider, right? Prayers and shout outs go to again to Deputy Mayor Rahman Muhammad, and we should consider bringing them on back on to talk about this if they're able to, right?
Absolutely.
And street council for the role that they played in averting what could have been a public disaster. That could have been. Just think of that. Imagine that block going off, on the police, right?
And downtown, and it's right downtown North.
Yeah, how many people would have gotten hurt on both sides how much payment, how much property would have gotten damaged. All this right before a holiday, right? It would have blocked up. It would have been it would have been horrible. It really would have been horrible. So those two brothers deserve a lot of love. And we're thankful that they were there and that the people respected them where the police didn't.
Right. And this is the type of reason why we need police reform to begin with, right? Like, because
Absolutely.
clearly the police acted in an incredibly aggressive manner. They were overly aggressive.
Totally unnecessary.
Right. And
instead of de-escalating, they were escalating.
Right. And escalated to the point where they were about to destroy this man's property, right? And he ended up getting hurt trying to, help them de-escalate the situation, right? Like, so it's just, to me, it shines a highlight on the need for further the things that need to be done. Pastor Ali, I'm going to throw it back to you because this is the disciples, right? Like,
yeah, we hanging in there. We're hanging in there. I think doing this, this is a shift from that. I think doing this so-called Thanksgiving season, I think one of the challenges for me has been my granddaughter. One of my granddaughters was shot about 6 weeks ago in Virginia Beach by a brother. Shot 3 times, twice in the face, once in the leg, but she's recovered well. And then another one of my granddaughters is dealing with a mental breakdown as we speak. And what should be a season, it was 8 years ago that my baby son transitioned. Last year we lost my nephew. My mom transitioned a few years ago. So I think looking at the mental health and the bereavement piece, so to speak, the grief that we deal with during these so-called holiday seasons, not even dealing with the narrative of the Pilgrims and the Indians and stuff like that. But I believe every day is a day of Thanksgiving and trying to find peace in the midst of chaos.
Yes, sir.
And I think this is what every individual, especially persons of color, go through during this season, trying to find peace in the midst of chaotic situations. We already know the pandemic has been very chaotic. And now, the children got this lung issue, over 65, RSV. They talk about the booster, whether you're boosted or whether you're not. We're talking about the virus that has been going on for 2.5, 3 years where the grief comes in, the mental, the chaos, trying to find peace in the midst of chaos. How many people have lost loved ones? How many businesses ownership have changed because of people that died because of the corona virus, COVID-19? And not only that, when you look at the shift in jobs, when you look at the shift in schooling, when you look at the time periods, I know for me as a pastor, that time period that we was out of church under state law and all that here in New Jersey, that year was a major time period. And I deal with clergy across this country. And sometimes I am criticized by some of my colleagues because we are so cautious here in New Jersey instead of just moving on by faith, where the facts and everything. And I'm just a firm believer. I don't need 500 people to die for me to believe that it's true. All I need is one person to die, and I know it's true. And I think the factor is during this season, people are trying to find peace. I eulogize a young fellow that was killed in a stolen car, 4 on the Parkway, and 2 ended up dying. 1 was critically injured. 1 came out. And as I eulogized this young fellow a couple of weeks ago, the young boys were out there, the crews were out there. And the funeral was well attended on a Monday afternoon. And he was one of my cousins. It was his godson. And I looked at the mindset. I analyzed the mindset of many of our young people during this season at 13, 14, 15 years old. And this kid didn't look to be 14. This kid could have passed for 21. He was tall and he was active in the streets and everything at 14 years old. But when you look at Young kids, many times we say they ought to know better. Well, what did we know? As I shared with them that day, I said, when I was in the stolen car at that age, we weren't going for, we had off and ons back then. We didn't have to rip out ignitions and stuff. It was not locked. We could automatically start the car. And I said, we didn't ride around joyriding, but number one, all of us couldn't drive. Our main concern was not getting pulled over, number one. And number two, somebody not noticing us that knew our parents in the car during school hours. And so when we look at how things have shifted, I believe during this time, because of all the social media and everything, we think our children are smarter than what time equates them to be. Just because they can TikTok, just because they can do modern technology, just because they can understand Facebook and all these different books they're on and have their own language, does not mean they're mature enough to handle the pain that goes on in life. So here it is, all these kids at this funeral. The mother chose not to show the young fellow. So his body was not open the whole time. So here it is, you have 400 people sitting up in the church at that time, sitting up in Transcend on Clinton Avenue, wondering how bad was he. That's 400 people that go out of there with their own mindset of how bad was he. His boys guarded his casket. His boys was his pallbearer. They put him in a horse and buggy. His younger brothers rode up on the horse and buggy. Here it is, all of them around death. They were in the cars 10 and 12 deep. Here it is, the highlight of their day was the burial of their friend, the burial of their homie, the burial of their brother, the burial of a son. And the strange thing was, the mother, bless her heart, was detached from it. Detached. And I'm looking at this mother with other children, and I'm looking at how do we take people through chaos and help them find peace? Because everybody's not going to the mental health. And most of
us aren't.
Right. Most people, we have a scripture that say, trust in the Lord God with all thy heart and lean not to your own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path. You take away verse 6, if you don't have nobody to acknowledge and nobody to direct your path, then what do you end up doing? Leaning to your own understanding. And let's be honest, what did we truly understand at 13, 12, and 14?
Mouthful, mic dropper, and prayer and healing thoughts to. I didn't know about what happened to your granddaughter. How do we not know that? So
it was in Virginia, and she's recovering.
Yeah,
it was a
still, that's
domestic
another
thing.
thing that we got to do better than that. We should have definitely known.
I take responsibility for that because it tore me up.
I bet it did.
And I had to go. I had to not lean to my own understanding.
Yeah, say that again.
And go back to ways that I know how. And the young fella got caught. She recovered. She's doing well. So the only thing she has to recover is psychologically. But in the midst of that, my other granddaughter goes through a nervous breakdown over an app where she's being bullied on, bullied, talked about, hiked on, or whatever the case may be. And looking at the young parents, my daughters and then early 40, one just turned 40, the other one is 45. And dealing with these situations, and myself as a pastor, have been dealing with, people with all our life, all my pastoral life. And we as people of color didn't always like to call what it is a mental health issue. Everybody not crazy. Some people that's having breakdowns. And some people can get broken that they never get fixed again.
That's right.
And what COVID-19 has did is broken the family.
That's right.
Because the misinformation.
And many of our families are already broken as it is.
Broken, right. The fear, the fear. I mean, you scared to sit in a room and somebody cough. Let them cough more than once. You look around and they came in the room with you. those that have been have contracted COVID-19. They have what they call long-term COVID. They have
Yes,
what
sir.
they call the different changes. I have one, the loss for some people, the loss of hair. Some women, how devastating is that? That you lose your hair behind COVID. Not counting the cancer that my wife went through, breast cancer, the chemo.
That's right.
We're looking
That's
at
right.
all these health issues that many of our sisters are dealing with, who
Talk
are
about
also raising children while they go through their own storm.
Sisters, mothers, and grandmothers.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean.
Right? Grandmothers raising kids because their daughters and sons then got caught up and caught out and can't do it no more. Oh yeah, I mean it was a wild card
and not well enough to do it.
Destabilization.
Are not mentally able, mentally fit to do it because of depression.
That's right. That's right. I'm going through something with my own 18-year-old. She is yet to recover from the depression that she went into, and this is something that I'm seriously worried about.
So Jonathan, as an educator, where you see kids that are supposed to be at the top of their game, so to speak, scholastically and educationally, and even some of them are going through, and we don't even talk about the multiple mass killings that has happened over the last month. That's in Chesapeake, Virginia. That boy was working. He was a manager. This is a brother that some of the people said they were scared to talk to him because of his anger. This is a brother that just came out the break room and said, I'm letting it go and I'm going to kill myself in the process. And then, the people in, I believe, out west, 4 are killed, 2 was in the house at the same time. You look at all these different folk, these different mass killings that going on. The guy that sprayed the 5, killed the 5 people, he injured 15.
Right, that's Colorado Springs.
Yeah, where the police was supposed to take him out, and he was saying, come on, fellas, this is going to be a great day. Let's get it on, so to speak. And his mama and them would not press charges when it got him and brought him home.
That's right.
And he was able to come home
and legally buy some of the most advanced and sophisticated hardware that you can get.
So when you look at the times that we live in, and I still believe in hope. I still believe in the future. I still believe my best days are in front of me. But trying to give people hope in the midst of chaotic times like, I don't know, I'm 64 years old. I've never seen before. And I've seen the Vietnam War. I've seen the Desert Storm. I've seen this. I've seen poverty. I've seen the 67 riots. I've seen tanks go down 16th Street between Avon and Madison. I've seen a lot in my lifetime, but I have not ever seen something as invisible as this demon that we're dealing with now.
Yeah, I call it the wild card. Yes.
Yeah, it's invisible because you can't see it. It showed up out of nowhere.
Yes, sir.
And you can't tell who
language chaos. What's the title of Dr. King's last book? Where do we go from here?
Where we go from here?
Or chaos? People forget the subtitle. Community or chaos? And
community or chaos.
So 67, 68, this country was on the edge, heading towards chaos, while he was trying to push it toward the beloved community.
Right. So when you look at what's happening today, just with sickness, when you look at what's happening today, just economically, I mean, and when you go around this country, if you travel, I was in Georgia a couple of weeks ago. When you go in certain parts of the country, people that look like us are totally oblivious to what we go through here in the North. As far as they are concerned, everything is okay. Right. What's wrong with you? Someone said to me, Ali, what's wrong with you? It's all well.
Right.
It's all well.
You asked before about like education, and in terms of just some of the stuff that I see, like it is more profound than ever before in terms of there are so many kids who are coming out of dealing with various forms of trauma through COVID, post COVID, and there's still a lot of uh, mental health needs, because like depression can hit in a lot of different ways, and that's needed not just for kids, that's needed for teachers as well. I think that like all of the adults around uh, are still dealing with the trauma of the last few years and trying to get things back to where they were, right? Some of us are throwing themselves back into work. Some of them.
Jonathan Freeze.
So was Jonathan, not all of us. Happy family weekend while everybody's quiet for a sec.
Yeah, we'll come on in, Donna Kay, and then Ed could jump on in with the few minutes that we got left. We've given you a mouthful, right? Pastor Ali just gave us a mic dropper, right? As Jonathan goes in and out and unfreezes himself. Good to see you both. In spite of the chaos, in our community.
Well, two things, Aid. I know I have one to talk about. Did we hear did you guys get an opportunity to talk about the situation with the young teenager or preteen, I think, who was in Caldwell, and she had been hearing on the news about the lantern moths, and she wanted to do her part, so she was outside in front of her door spraying them with insecticide and killing them, and a neighbor called up the police on her, and said that he didn't know what she was going to do. He felt threatened,
unsafe. Right,
I'm
black
sorry?
girl out there started some stuff. Right, he
Right,
felt
a little
unsafe.
12-year-old. And the result was the mayor of Caldwell just was very, what did I want to say? He was insulted that the neighbor did that. And as a result, she came to the council meeting and spoke out, her and her mom, and gave her how she felt about it. And what was shocking also, not shocking, but what was sad about it is that the neighbor, they lived across the street from this neighbor for over 4 years, if I'm remembering correctly. So it was
black,
him and say it again.
You black, you still ain't neighbor enough.
Exactly. He
intentionally
did
that came out of that, to your point, was that the police who came on the scene did not overreact to how the call was made, because that could have gotten that child hurt or killed.
Exactly.
Straight up, right? If they had come on the premise of how that call was made, that child could have. And she was a child.
She was like
13 years old, right? Doing her civic duty, being a good citizen, not waiting for some leader to tell her what to do, but just being led by scientific knowledge. Something and that was absolutely want to all of them across the spectrum, embracing science,
responding to
singled out like a danger and a threat to society or being. That was disgusting.
And if we
that didn't play out.
Right, and if we remember, at one point the news was like, if you see these if you see these type of moths, step on them, kill them. They have no, and so there was a charge by the community to actually kill them, and she did. Well, she was actually asked of her and her community.
She took it personally, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, good citizen to be lifted up for that.
And I want to say the person that made a phone call I can't remember, but he was a public official as well. He sat on a board, or he was an appointee somewhere. So, the mayor of Caldwell did the right thing, and there were some certain sanctions that were going to come out of it. She's going to be rewarded by one of the chemical companies, and so as the scripture goes, Pastor Bryant, what they meant for evil, I meant for good. That's right.
Yeah, but the enemy meant for evil.
Got a shout out by Stephanie, by the way, Donna. Hi, Miss Donna. You just got a shout out.
Hey, Stephanie. And then the other Zaid was down in Trenton. I roughly I quickly read over a piece of legislation that was about workers' rights for temp employees. Were you participating in that? And so the
Oh, I only
legislature
heard about it
pulled it.
passing. I was out of town for a minute, so I missed
Okay,
all of
but are you familiar with that piece of legislation?
it. Just vaguely, just vaguely.
Okay, so we'll have to wait until next week to talk about that. Yeah.
Jonathan
Sweet.
had came back, and I think he went back out.
Yeah, he did.
What's up, Ed?
Yeah,
Yeah, what's
Ed
going
is
on,
yeah,
y'all?
Ed is here. That's right.
What's going on, man?
It's been a loaded
Everybody
week.
had a good Thanksgiving.
No,
Hey,
it was
it was. I
we
was
had a
quiet at
cloud
home
over
with the
it.
wife.
There was a
For
cloud over it.
wrestling.
We were packing the cloud that was over it. I don't know if how much you heard. I was just laying out the situation that happened with Sharif and Pastor laid out the whole question of the struggle for our people, even in those modest moments, to try and seek some peace in the midst of all the chaos that's surrounding our community. And the way he laid that out in terms of what he was dealing with personally, and on top of what we're dealing with in the community, you know, however you address that holiday, we needed it, and we needed it to be better.
And
To
I
be
think
sure.
some of it, I think we need to all share. I think one of the things about what we call it now in my faith tradition, testifying. I
Go
think
ahead.
many of us need to share how we cope with chaos for others,
Come on.
just to glean from. Because
Come on.
all of us go through chaos one time or another. And as I tell folk, if you haven't been through chaos, keep on living.
Keep living.
Chaos
That's all
will
my
not put you
grandmother.
in.
That's right. Give thanks
On living.
every single second and every moment if you haven't.
And I think in this day and age, people need to know
And buckle
that
up.
that we all see it, but all of us have had some type of traumatic situation, and we've dealt with it. We survived it. We haven't always done the right thing, but we survived it. Many of us survived it half sober, and we're able to go through our life, and we still keep a drive. We don't go and hide. We still want to help others, even those who don't want to be helped or who have given up, their help is not available. And we still choose to believe that it takes a whole village, not only to raise a child, but it takes a whole village to keep our seniors and to keep our young parents from committing suicide. Because
That's right.
it's very challenging out here. What the hip hop boy used to say, "Don't push me because I'm close to the edge." Trying
That's
hard
right.
not to lose my head. It's like a jungle out here. Sometimes it makes me wonder
Makes you
how I
wonder
keep from
how to
going
keep
under.
from going under.
And many things try to take you under. And I'm not talking about Australia. I'm not talking about the land down under. I'm talking about how you can go under and lose your mind.
That's right.
And still look normal.
That's right.
Function on your job, mind gone. Still look normal. I'm referring to the kid that came out the break room in Chesapeake, Virginia, at the mall and went to shooting indiscriminately. Mind
He's
gone.
a manager. A manager
At Walmart.
Yeah.
Now, mind gone. But he showed up to work. Mind gone. He signed in. Mind gone. And now families are affected because his mind was gone, but he showed up like he was normal.
And Pastor Ali, I remember one time I was at work and a superior was talking very negatively about other co-workers and what the superior had came out and spoke about what they, in their power, what they can do to somebody and how they can let them go and da 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 da. And I was very upset. And I said to the superior, I was like, you don't talk to people like that. This is how we get people. You're messing with people's livelihood. You don't know how a person is one check away from losing it all. And you're going to threaten them like that. and went on to explain this is why we have the saying quote going postal unquote. We really have to be mindful of how we talk to people and trigger words. And sometimes people are in positions of leadership that don't need to be there because they're not thinking about the bigger picture. When they say things, they think it's just okay to say anything, and it's not okay.
How about that?
That's
Great
because
to
it's
see you,
lawful don't mean it's
everybody.
expedient.
Shout out.
hmm Some
Mhm.
conversations are lawful but not expedient. Even in this day and age, as a pastor, I watch what I have to watch more carefully what I
Mhm.
say. I have to watch more carefully how I explain faith.
Mhm.
Scriptures say faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things
Evidence of
not
things
seen.
unseen.
But
That's right.
how do I deal with what I see though? You know, without faith, it's impossible to please God. You must first believe that He is and that He's a rewarder of him that diligently seek Him. But how do I
Mhm.
maintain faith over what I see? I know we walk by
Mhm.
faith and not by sight, but right now I only see sight.
Mhm.
When I wake up in the morning, when a child is hungry, that child is not concerned about faith at that moment. That child is hungry. When that
Right.
child go to school and don't have the proper uniform to wear, the uniform is not clean, and the kids get ready to go out on them. That child who has lost both parents and families to COVID, a situation funeral was just held up because the whole family got COVID. They're in the same household, and when you deal with these certain things going on, mental illness, people going through, people that we used to just say that person was off. You kind of knew who in the family was off. But now, what happens when the person is the progenitor or the leader of the family and don't look like they off? And mentally they have given up. And it's a
Mhm.
hard thing to return from giving up.
Yeah. And I think too there was an educational panel that we did probably about 6 weeks ago now, and I think Dr. Brown was one of the panelists, and she said we have not even begun to see the mental fallout from COVID. We don't know we just haven't even touched it or scratched the surface of the mental fallout from COVID. So we have to be mindful, and we have to pay attention of how we deal with people and our words and what's going on around us. Sometimes just smiling at somebody and saying, "How are you doing?" and really listening to their responses, it can make a difference.
Well, death and life is in the power of the tongue. And
Mm.
they love it shall eat the fruit thereof. And I think in essence, at 64 years old, at my age, I don't know where the time went, Saeed.
Mm.
I really,
I totally
and,
agree
and,
because I'm right behind you.
and these last 4 years these last 2 years have been a blur. I don't know where the time went. Certain things you lose in the process. You don't know where it went. I don't know where the compassion got lost for many. I don't know where the care for one another, am I my brother's keeper, where families became, and then I worry about the people that I quote unquote, everybody don't have to be in denial, but I'm worried about some folk that refuse to deal with reality and that say, okay, I'm going to not even let that affect my mind at this moment, and I'm not going to get into that right now, but it's affecting you daily. As somebody that take medicine on a daily basis because of my health issues, and I realized I don't know what the medicine doing. I still got to trust in my Creator, my Lord, to get me through, to heal me by His stripes. But I know how I feel when I don't take certain medicines. And one of the medicines I have to take is for anxiety. And I don't like when I get anxious, for no reason at all. Just uneasy, heart racing, just uneasy for no reason at all. The dog look at me like, "What's up?" He's 16 years old. He's been around a long time. He says, "Why don't you just eat, go to the bathroom and be happy? Get your nap." And when you go through certain ailments, and I know how I must feel for. I don't know how I must feel, but I know my wife being a cancer survivor. You know, for all cancer survivors, is the next bump you feel in your breast a lump, different things. Those who had COVID, if I get a cough, has it returned? Will I survive this time? One of my ministers, she was on my heart the other day, and I called her and said, I'm just calling. She said, you called me at the right time. My job has taken every employee that I had under me away and gave me a whole new position by myself.
Wow.
And I had to encourage her that maybe it wasn't the job. It was the Lord trying to push her to another level to do something else, that now you can create something that can help everybody. But
Hopefully.
the bottom line is, at that moment, she broke down. She cried. They had taken what was giving her some importance, was giving her purpose of going to work. And she's had COVID multiple times, you know, and trying to deal with that. Now I got to deal with this. And then the families that, when they, like, you know, I'm thinking about grief. You know, if he's down, how long is he down? Where a guy's a vendor and a street warrior, and so much is dependent upon his feet.
That's right.
Does his foot recover well? He has babies. Who takes care of his babies as an independent contractor while he's down? And these little things that people deal with on a daily basis. You see him in the streets daily. You see him downtown. You see him wherever you eat at. You see people functioning, but they're not speaking to one another, you know, because we're socially distant, you know. And I had to wake up. I got a revelation at a football game, watching a football game, 100,000 people on top of each other. And I had to socially separate my people from the altar call. And I got convicted. And I said, finally, bring the people who come to the altar. You can socially distance at the altar, but come to the altar. Why are we separated when so many people are on top of each other? You know, and then just the thing just came across the slide. Look at Donald Trump running again. Most presidents, once their time is up, they're done. You've been put out once, but now you want to come back. And I mean, the insurrection in our lifetime, the insurrection during the midst of COVID, everything. That's right. Pelosi didn't step down. Her husband gets beat up at the house. Nobody responds.
Hit in the head with a hammer.
With a hammer, like he was a nail. You know, so when you look at people losing it on a daily basis, that you hate to watch the news. And then when you even look at the weather, look at Buffalo. My friends up in Buffalo. Look how much snow they had to go through. And look at the importance, and I'm a football fan, but look at the importance that people shoveled out the football players who are multimillionaires so they could get to the plane to get to the game. But I wonder that they give shelter a look to make sure that the homeless had shelter in the midst of the same snowstorm. Where are our priorities?
Yeah, that's a serious question. Ed, you've been quiet. Say what say you, sir?
Well, I think that you know, I think that is a sign of where we are right now, right? I think that a lot of stuff that's going on in our community is a sign of, you know, how we're dealing with it, right? And I think that, you know, I mean, none of us really knew what the effects of you know, how folks was going to deal with COVID when they came out of it, right? None of us knew that. And I think that Mayor Baraka said that as well. I think that, you know, when he said that, you know, we're going to have to see what the effects of COVID is, you know, 2 years later, and here we are, right? And every day, man, I think everybody's on edge, and I think we sort of forget the other thing. I think that we forget that there's a recession going on, right? There's a lot of people that don't have food, man. I mean, if you look at, you look at what was going on in Newark, and you know this better than most, Zaid. There wasn't enough turkeys for the people who were in need in the city of Newark, right?
Yes, yes.
And
We want
and
to get them
you know, and
ready
so
to come talk about the food
yeah,
crisis. Yes.
yeah, and so we forget, Ali, and I know you know this, Ali. You deal with it, as a man of God. You know that people come to the church have real need, man. You
Yeah.
know, and so you think about that on top of everything else that and I'm saying we as black folk have to deal with, racism on one level, right? Other people come into our community that have ill intentions against us, right? We have to deal with all of that. And then imagine on top of that, if you will, you have children, right? There's another side of that. And I think that for me, Ali, I think that the reason I appreciate the disciples is because, once a month we get an opportunity to hear from men and women of God who have not lost hope, because it's easy, man, to lose hope. And what we see is when folk go into a store or go on their job, and just a few hours before you purchase a gun and then decide to kill a whole bunch of people, right? I mean, this is somebody who just lost all hope. And then at the end of it, you decide not only to kill them, but you kill yourself, right? So everybody is going through some very traumatic times at this point. And one of the scriptures I think that helped me, I shared it with a couple of brothers, because this time of the year for me, I don't know if you all have heard me say it. I hate this time of the year because I see so many people in need, and you want to help them, but what you don't understand is that they didn't just come to that point. It's just more heightened. They've been in need all year long, and so, but the very people who can help them seem to only come to want to help them during the months of November and December. But what about the other 10 months? Right? These people have real needs then. And so one of the scriptures that helped me, Ali, was in 2 Corinthians 1:9. When the scripture talks about how, God put in your spirit that the pain of death of something is the worst thing. But the reason God said he left that in your spirit was because he wanted you to know that you needed to be able to depend on him, right? There's no greater dependence for us than God, right? And so for me, it doesn't matter what I'm going through. It doesn't matter how bad things are. What I want to share with folks is on the disciple show is that you need to depend on God.
And I agree.
Yeah,
My
that's right.
my philosophy is this. I'm glad you said that. This is what keeps me going. Not only does my wife Faith, as I watch her deal with her stuff, but what keeps me going on what I believe about the scriptures and what I believe about my personal belief of the Creator is that the Father sits on the throne, and Jesus sits on the right hand of the Father making intercession. And,
Indeed.
and they haven't moved yet. They chilling. Because the scriptures tell me if Jesus gets up, it's going to be a whole paradigm shift,
Mm-hmm.
When he get up. But as long as he's sitting down, he's in control. So while he's sitting down, my philosophy is I can get up. And I got to get up and do what I got to do. Because as far as he's concerned, if I trust in him, he's not panicking. He knew this was going to happen.
That's
But
right.
the point is to maintain my faith of what I don't see and go and help what I can on what I do see. And that's to encourage and do what I do as a pastor is to let the folks say, hey, Pastor, you didn't lose your mind yet? Yeah, I lost
Yeah.
it, but I kept the most of it. I said, I got, 80% of it I don't lose, I don't use no way.
Right.
So 60% of that is lost.
Yeah.
But the 40% that I have is still active, and 20% I still had to develop. The other 20% is strong.
Yeah.
And if I not just had the faith of a mustard seed, it's certain stuff I can speak to and tell that mountain to be removed. Because I know through my illnesses over the last 10, 11 years, I know I should have been dead and gone.
Mm.
Based on medical. technology, but it's medical intervention and my faith and the prayers of my wife and my ministry members that keep me here. Keep me here, not what? To just sit around and flaunt and say I'm here, but to keep me here to do what I was sent here to do. And complete my particular assignment. And I think all of us have to understand that we do have an assignment. And my goal is to remind certain folk to get back on their assignment, because Martin Luther King had an assignment. He only stayed 39 years, but he completed his assignment. He was troubled about it. He knew he had to go, but he completed his assignment. He said, well, Ali, how you know he completed his assignment? Here it is, 2022, we still talking about him. Every third Monday, we celebrate his birthday. You know, he completed his assignment.
Pastor Ali,
yes.
You know, the sermon that Dr. King did in the book is a talk at midnight, when he goes into you have to have your own relationship with God, and how he was talking about he was just sitting at the table having a cup of coffee, and how God spoke up to him, spoke to him at that time. And that's where it was so riveting and so moving, when he says that you have to have your own relationship. Now, you can't go through your mother, your father. You have to know how to come to the throne before God and make application for your needs. That every time, sometimes I have to go back and listen to it and replay it just to understand how important it is that, troubles will come, but just like troubles come, God has delivered before and he'll deliver again. And I remember, speaking of food, how the food pantry started from COVID. Well, people can't get to the market. Some people left work, and so some people are out of work. So let's help them, with food, and all these organizations start helping. But now that same food pantry program has continued, but for a different reason, because of the crisis of how much the cost has gone up. I'm in the supermarket and I'm just looking and I'm staring at the prices. I can't believe a box of cereal costs $6. A dozen of eggs costs. I mean, this increase is the cost, because of the different reasons. The gas, they say, is the reason. Supply, demand is the reason. But it is very, very hard right now for families to take that dollar that they have been making, and we used to do a thing, try to make a dollar out of 15 cents. Now you're trying to you're scrubbing the same 2 nickels that you had together, and the cost of living is going up and up, but you still got those same 2 nickels that you got to work with. It's challenging times out there. And then last but not least, I listened to Mayor Baraka. He was talking about thanks. I think he did this on Thanksgiving, or maybe the day before Thanksgiving, about the numbers at one time in Newark are increasing, but they are going back down. But we've had 2 deaths for COVID in Newark. So these challenges before us right now are really real, and we have to pay attention.
And I think the sister, what you said has been very motivating for me, you and Brother Ed, because sometimes I believe that's why we help us one to another. Many times I try not to be too preachy, because I preach all the time, but we help us one to another. And I think many times we overlook the contribution of our neighbor, because Ed just came on here and said, hey, he encouraged me. And sometimes if you don't have the same title, then you can't tell me nothing. But I've learned that everybody can come to me. I say even the dog, like my dog can come to me. Rock can cry out. The trees can talk to me. The wind talks to me. And when I hear it, I grab hold to it, because all of us run on empty, and all of us don't fill up at the same well. but somebody has filled up as a well, and when they come to deposit in you, it behooves you to receive that deposit.
Yeah.
So you can go on another hour, go
Yeah.
on another day,
Yeah.
go on another week, and before you know it, you'll be 69, and the white folks will show up in your face.
Yeah.
Ooh.
You know,
Pushing 70.
That's good.
yeah, and praise God for that. But Ali, I think the way that I've been able to receive it, and I'm praying for more understanding is that I began to have this greater knowledge and appreciation for, and I don't want to get spooky on anybody, because I was sharing this with Kim. I've become greater and more aware of the Holy Spirit,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Of understanding that is a real person for me, right? And that I'm never alone. And I think that as I begin to study and want to gain greater knowledge, I think what I want people to know, and particularly Black folk, what I want them to know is that we're never alone, right? And particularly for those of us who have accepted Christ in our life. And if you've accepted that, then understand that there's scripture somewhere that says when he left a comforter, right? And we say to ourselves that, in the hood, yo, man, something told me not to do that. Well, we know exactly who told you not to.
That's right.
And we also know who told you to do it, right?
That's right.
Listen to the mind of the one that told you not to do it. Because that one who told you not to do it, we recognize that he's already seen where you're headed, right? Because he knows where you're going before you go there.
Omniscient, all knowing.
Right. And so for me, Ali, that's why I said for me, I've become greater aware of that voice that speaks to me, right? I'm hearing things, right? But I'm not hearing things to the point where I'm crazy. I'm hearing things where I'm blessed.
Yeah,
right?
you're hearing the voice and not the voices. I think the key is this, Ed, when you think about it, even for those who may not believe like us, when the scriptures tell us that we're surrounded by this great cloud of witnesses.
Right.
And I think about the ancestors, people that refer to the ancestors. And I refer to Mama. I refer to Big Mama. I refer not that I think Mama in the room with me and stuff like that. But Mama and them used to say stuff to me that's now coming to pass.
Indeed.
My mother used to make a remark when I used to laugh about certain things, about aging and stuff. My mother used to say, keep living.
Keep living.
Yeah.
And she said, keep living, and you will find out that everything is not Sunday.
Yeah.
Stuff you don't understand. Keep living.
Yeah, my grandmother's favorite word.
Not afraid to engage the Holy Spirit to order my steps,
Yeah.
direct my path, because I have something that's able to do exceedingly and abundantly above all I can ask, according to the power that worketh in me. Work the power. Great is he that's in me than he that's in the world. Work the power. Something on the inside, the old folk used to say, working on the outside. Oh, what a change in my life.
Yeah.
You have to work the power. And for me, that's faith.
Yeah.
When I can work the power. I mean, if I only have the faith of a mustard seed, I can speak to the mountain and tell it to be thou removed. Well, I tell new psalmists, sometimes you may not be able to speak, but you got the power to walk around it.
Yeah.
Some stuff don't need to be moved. And then you still need to seek God's direction, because some stuff you blame the enemy for, the other voice, when it's really God trying to get glory out of your life.
Yeah. I think that's it, Ali. I think that right there is where we are, right? Giving thanks, right? You may not have everything that everybody else has, right? But you woke up this morning.
Whatever you had.
That's right. Right. Whatever it is, my brother Imhotep Gary Bird always says, give thanks, right? You can talk. Let's give thanks for that. Right? You breathing, you above ground. Let's give thanks for that, right? You may not have everything that everybody else had on their table for Thanksgiving, but you know what? God has blessed you to be in your right mind, right?
That's right.
So
well,
you give
3/4 of it in my case.
And I think what you said, Ed, not just to think about today. What about the other 10 months?
Yeah.
Give thanks that I made it through that. Give thanks that I have an appetite.
Yeah.
Some folk have food, but don't have the wellness in their body to have an appetite. You know, blockages and health issues, mental issues, worration. And I think that when you think about it, just because you got food does not mean you have an appetite.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
There people
does not mean you have the appetite. And so when you think about the whole thing about God, when I think about the existence, when I think about all my mother and those who have gone on before me, when my mother got to the point that she was ready to go, it did not matter that it was 3 sons still here. I called them on the phone. Mama said, bye, I'm going home, and everything. And she was secure in everything she had learned in her 82 years of living from the backwoods of Smithfield, Virginia. Everything she had learned. One thing she did not turn her back on through everything, and she was dealing with pancreatic cancer, was God.
Ooh.
And she said, I got life after this, and I'm going home. And she let me know I seen it. And what she saw was enough for her to leave what she knew.
Faith.
And we didn't understand it. We cried. We boo-hooed. And people said, man, it's going to be all right. Wipe your tears. I preached the funeral. I said, I'm not crying because my mama gone. I know where she's at. I'm crying because I never knew life without her.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
I'm crying over the void. When she had heart surgery a couple of years ago, I had never had my mother not respond to me.
Right.
She was under anesthesia. We cried because it was one way you knew mama. And then to have her not being able to respond. But what I said with pancreatic cancer and everything, she still had a hope. She still had her faith. She was excited about leaving. Because the life she was now living was not life to her.
Right.
And she's like, they can keep the chemo, they can keep all that. I don't need nothing to prolong this agony. Let the Lord have his way.
Let the God do. And to your point, Pastor Ali, when my mom, I said that's what over 50 years of life with my mother. I didn't know that void was real. So that's what it was for me. That void. It was like I have not known life without my mother, that I could even call her just to hear her voice to just soothe the situation. That was, like you said, that void is something.
Yeah. I heard Minister Farrakhan say one time, he said that, he talked about losing his mother. And I remember hearing him say this one time, Brother Zaid. He said, when you lose your mother, he said, it's like losing a warm coat. He said, when you cold, and he said, you look for that comfort. He said, you know that your mother is never going to be in disagreement with you, right? She's the only
one. Yes, sir.
She's the one that can help you. She's the one that can tell you the things that you not want to hear, but the things that you need to hear. Right? She's the one that can tell you you're crazy when you think you're in your right goddamn mind. She can tell you you're crazy.
Right? Say you're a mess, you better clean it up.
Yeah. Think about that, right? And so when Ali says keep living, oh my God, that will preach itself, right?
Yeah.
And I can receive that, Ali, right? Because you know somebody say keep living, right?
Keep living. Keep
when they say that to you, they're saying you don't know enough yet. That's all. But if you keep living, you're gonna learn something, and God is gonna add more on to you. Just keep living, right?
Life will show up.
Yeah, but you've only seen 22 years. I've seen 60 of them. You ain't seen 22 of them, right? So but keep living.
Keep living.
I guarantee you again. That's why I said, Ali, that's a word for me, because that will preach itself.
Keep living.
Keep living. That'll preach
Pastor
itself.
Ali, I see your partner there for a second. I don't know where Councilwoman
I saw
Roundtree
Roundtree. I stick her head in. I don't know where she went.
Trying to get in.
She tried to get in. She was here.
But I think that the beauty of what's being shared tonight is on this Thanksgiving, right? Is we're giving thanks, right?
Right.
We're grateful for what we've come to, right? And there's no small point, however old you are, right? You live to this point, and Kim and I was at our family dinner last night, and what I said is that everybody's life represents the sum total of their experiences, right? Your life is based on what you've experienced. My life is based on what I experienced. Therefore,
Right.
I'm making decisions based on my experience. You go the same, but like my brother said, you got to keep living.
Gotta keep living.
And I shared with the family one of the things that John Austin and I said over 30 years ago. Me and John sat in the car outside of his house. This is a word. John said to me, he said, man, he said, I'm glad you my friend. I said, I'm glad you my friend. He said, because if we ever get in trouble, one of us got to be smart enough to say, hey man, you crazy right now. Don't do that. And I want to say this and admit this. John has told me that in my life. And
that's powerful that you remember it and you acknowledge where it came from.
And he told me that.
Coming back to the original story that we were talking about as we come on, that's the nature of community-based violence intervention. Son, you about to make a terrible mistake. I can't let you do that.
And Ed has done the same for me.
Just jump in here.
Hey, so yes, he's done the same for me in terms of, we always say that the person, you always have to have a friend who gives you the right advice,
right?
That right advice in those times, right? Now we have two other people who just came in. We've got Councilman at Large. We've got DJ Rhino. I know he has some stuff to talk about with the state of hip hop, but hey, Councilwoman at Large, how are you?
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Happy holidays to all of you. Had some challenges with the family and didn't have my phone where I couldn't even get on if I did, based on the issue that I was dealing with the family. But good evening, good evening. I just love my All Politics of Local #1 hip hop radio show. It is just amazing that what you guys are talking about. Yes, everybody needs a challenger in their life. Challenge me to not do the wrong thing. The thing is, sometimes the challenger they don't want to listen to because it just doesn't sound like something they want to do. But it's an honor to be on with all of you tonight. I chimed in. I didn't want to miss at least a couple of minutes. I know we had instructions earlier today of the time. We're praying for Minister Abdul Haqq Muhammad, my big brother, Pastor Bryant Ali, Pastor in the Hood, AKA, who has dealt with whatever this topic is that you're talking about. I hear you talking about violence and violence prevention. So I know that he's given you some good conversation regarding that, and you as well, Brother Ed. But thank you for letting me come in for a couple of seconds and say something on this giving. They say it's Thanksgiving, but we give thanks, Pastor Ali. We give thanks all the time. We don't just give thanks on Thursday. Of course, that was made a holiday some time ago, but we give thanks every single day. Somebody asked me last Sunday, I was so happy in church, and a pastor looked over at me, your friend, Pastor Ali, and he said, Rountree, you real happy? He said, why are you so happy? I said, I guess you don't notice I'm happy every day. He said, what's going on? I said, I'm alive. I'm alive. I am alive. That's enough. And I know I'm alive. There are people that are alive that are not aware right now. I'm alive to get more educated. I'm alive to do more advocating. I'm alive to make a difference. I'm alive to get one more day to get this thing right. So, yeah.
You're alive, baby. You're alive and kicking.
Yes. All right, and I know that we are we're starting to round out in this and this nice and special session, but I know that DJ Rhino had some stuff to say too, as well. He's gotta come on. So
yeah, well, y'all can hear me?
We can
Yes,
hear
sir.
you well.
Yeah,
Peace
good
all,
to
peace all.
see you, brother Rhino.
Good seeing
Brother,
you.
it's real good to see you.
I wanted to come on just real quick, and I wanted to thank again Pastor Ali for his prayers and well wishes, for the loss of my brother Tane One. Reverend Roundtree, I definitely got to thank you because you showed up not only at Tane One's service, but also Rashad's son's service. And you did your part, and as well as bring forth letters from the mayor to both gentlemen. You know what I'm saying? So I thank you for being a part of those services as well. And so now, that's really all I had to share. I saw the brother on, and I was hoping, Council Laws was gonna show up so I can give her my thanks as well.
Oh,
That's
bless
really
you.
all I had.
DJ Rhino,
We love you, man.
Thank you.
Bless
Love
you. Bless you. We're still praying for you. I know that was real difficult. The Tame One, I know was difficult. I saw the role you played, and people don't know how much more difficult it is when you have to stand before the people yourself that you were close to, someone that you grew with, someone that you did so much together, and then you have to stand before them and run the show, so to speak, or run the service. So I want to, commend you on allowing your God-given strength to help you keep that together. On Rashad's son piece, I had no idea where I was going that day. I never looked at the resolution, never looked at the email. I just got an email, sent it straight to where it needed to go to get the resolution. And when I got there, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the person that people were calling me about. I got calls from Washington. They wanted me to show up for Rashad's son. And talking about two wonderful, um, I don't do funerals, celebrations of life.
Right.
They were, and I was honored that God allowed me to be a part of both of them. So God bless you, and I'm yet praying for your strength and both families' strength um, in the transitioning of their loved ones.
Yes. Thank you.
DJ Rhino, you said you didn't have too much on the hip hop front this week.
Not really. I will say happy born to Eric Sermon from EPMD, which you see on my shirt right here. He just had a born day today. Legendary artist. EPMD came out back in 1988 with the first one was It's Your Thing, and the B-side You're a Customer. But then the big single that really blew them up, at least for us when we heard it, was You Got to Chill, which is the song where they sampled the More Bounce to the Ounce by Zap.
And
So,
he also just lost his child. It was his baby mother
yeah,
that just passed. Yeah.
his oldest daughter's mother is Hurricane G, and we lost her the same day we lost Tame One.
I had wanted to talk to you. Did you get to catch up on the what was going on with Chris Brown and the AMA awards? Cutting his part in the awards.
Nah, I don't have any more information on it, but I know I was like, all right, well, goodbye to the AMAs. Because supposedly their whole reason for shutting it down is they're saying Chris Brown was a woman beater, and then they said they're not going to let a woman beater, an abuser, get on stage and make tribute to a child molester, an alleged child molester, and they're talking about Michael Jackson. And if anybody's really been following any of this stuff, we know that all of those allegations have been thrown away. Where that the family, the kid was lying, the family was trying to get money. We know about all of this stuff, but they want to still uphold the narrative of Michael Jackson, child molester, and all of that.
And I think it was Chris Brown. He was dating Rihanna, right? At
Yeah,
the time. They had publicly worked through that, and Chris Brown had publicly had went through
My Lord.
he said, I think he had watched his mother be victimized and but they had publicly dealt with it and had moved on. But what I really wanted to, I was very happy of how our community, the entertainment community. I think Tank came out, and Tank was like, he tweeted to AMAs, it's like, before we jump to conclusions, we would like to hear your side of it. But the AMA never responded. But when Chris Brown showed a little clip of what he was already well into, being hired and at showing up for the rehearsals and everything, and the short rehearsal we seen his tribute to Michael Jackson on Thriller. I hope somebody gives him an opportunity to perform it somewhere else, because Chris Brown was doing his thing
Yeah,
as always.
yeah. Chris Brown is still on top of his game when it comes down to
Right.
his
DJ
craft.
Ryan,
Yeah,
councilwoman, if I could just
Yeah.
chime in, you know, it appalls. I'm just appalled when I hear these things about child molestation. I mean, we got some facts and some real true stories of some entertainers that they don't call it molestation. You got the clear version of individuals who marry 13 and 14-year-olds. What do you call that? I mean, like, what do you call that? Help me understand Jerry Lee Lewis and Elvis Presley that married minors. Help me, just help me. Is it me?
mhm.
That somebody married a 14-year-old and it's okay, and stayed married to them for years. And I mean, that, and their careers blew up, and they went on to be what do you call it, Hall of Famers, rock and roll Hall of Famers, and still one of the largest income generating uh, Elvis Presley. And I'm not saying, I'm just saying, help me understand this. Help me understand that we got facts about people, but allegations will destroy our people. Help me
Yeah.
understand this. I'm talking about marrying a 14-year-old. Help me
Hmm.
understand that that's okay, but an allegation will kill us representing or standing up for someone who an allegation was made. You mean to tell me someone that wanted to sue, get money from someone who was a multimillionaire or a billionaire, an allegation, you destroy somebody's life because of money, but someone can marry a 14-year-old and go on to still be one of the biggest stars in rock and roll fame? Help me to understand this. I think it's horrible. So them coming for Chris Brown, I don't know what it was, and I don't know what the outcome, but I just needed to say that about when
Right.
our perspective on individuals. How do we are some of our own worst enemies? Because it was some that were our color, us. They were like it was a shame, and help me. R. Kelly went on to go to jail for all of his what they proved and what they did, but these other folks can marry minors and still live normal lives. Help me make it make sense. Anyway, that's all I want to say.
It doesn't. But that was something in the news, and I know it was something else. I just lost it, but like I said, Chris Brown, the way I think that the circle around him, they handled it really well. Like I said, Tate came out, and a couple of other people came out and spoke, and so we'll see in the days to come. But I know what else. Vinny, Naughty by Nature, he had posted he was going to the awards, and somebody hip hop was being honored. I think at the in DC. Did you see that post, Rhino?
No, I didn't catch that.
Okay, so we'll talk about that. Hip hop was being honored for the years. I forgot, but Vinny posted, "I'm going to the awards," and yeah, he was backstage with his tux and everything on. So we hope to hear more about that. What
Yeah.
was going on?
Also, real quick, I want to just say I'm going to throw this out there. I just found out about it myself today that tomorrow at noon, at 166 Abington Avenue in Newark,
Uh-huh.
at noon, they're going to be a whole bunch of graph artists, because that area is like a small community where all of the walls are done in graph, you know, in pieces and stuff. It's beautiful, actually. You got to go there. But like all of the walls in that neighborhood are done in graffiti,
The
and
murals are beautiful. Yeah.
yeah, and that's 166 Abington Avenue. Tomorrow at noon, they're all gonna come together, and they're gonna do a Tame One tribute. They're gonna do
Wow.
a tribute. They're gonna, you know, have Tame One pieces and stuff like that up there. So that's going on tomorrow at 166 Abington Avenue in Newark, at noon, 12 noon for Tame One. So all graph artists or whoever wants to come out, just check out the art, come through. And that's it for me. That's really all I got for right now.
Councilwoman, how many families were you able to deliver turkeys to? Were you able to reach a lot of families with the turkey distributions?
Girl, please don't even get me started. That number, a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. Of course, you know the mix. I know that was a few thousand. I don't know the exact number because I'm not actually in that office specifically. And well, it used to be like 6,000, 7,000, just the mayor's office. Of course, the council people, it used to be 6 or 7. I don't know the number for 2022, but I do know they did a major turkey distribution down at the waterfront on Grafton Avenue. And then, of course, there was a police department initiative, and then the council people, Councilman Council did a distribution. In the South Ward, he did like maybe about 3 or 4 pop-ups where he distributed so many turkeys. I myself, the few that I did have, the ones that I gave out, there were events. And so next year, I know we're going to be major because I'm at large. So I'm going to have to make sure I do something in each ward. But in this case, I took calls from individuals in each ward and let them meet me and pick them up. I had one guy who asked me for turkeys. And I said, well, I'll see, can I get you about 20? He gave out vouchers with my picture on it. So you know I had to find his 20 turkeys, right? So he had an event on, I think the second week in November, 2 weeks ago. And he said, well, I'm just going to put your picture on a voucher and they can get their turkey on my. So Monday, he came and picked up his turkeys for me. But we gave out, if I had to give out a number, I would probably say close to 7,000, 8,000 collectively, not one body. But yeah, we took care of a lot of families. And the mayor, working under the mayor's office, they would do 6,000 or 7,000 easy by themselves, itself. The mayor's office covering each ward. I'm not sure what their number was this year, but not a year goes by. And listen, I tell people all the time, you know, there are people that want turkeys that don't even have large families. They just want a turkey because you're given a turkey. So we have to truly identify who we're giving the turkeys to, and know that they're going to be able to provide a meal for their family. But that's not all we did. There were feedings going on all over the city. I do a partnership with Applebee's every year. This is the 9th year. They asked me about 8 years ago, what can we do for you in the community? I said, well, you're a restaurant. All you can do is feed and give money, you know. So the money piece I don't do, but we can do the food. So they, for 8 years, they've been providing, cooking the whole meal, and they come out and serve it. So I picked different.
Oh no, that is. Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say that is excellent, but I know that we are actually over our abbreviated part. I know Rana wanted to come on and say some stuff, but I just wanted to make sure that we have everyone, you know, give their final say in this.
Okay. Listen, the sergeant of arms is speaking. They asked me about turkeys. I got a whole story on turkeys.
Also, for all politics and local, we didn't have an opportunity. You know, we had one of our leaders in the community who's been a sheriff. Fontura has been a sheriff since I was, for as long as I remember. Yeah, and I just wanted to say condolences. Him and his wife have been married for many years, and when his wife got sick, Fontura stepped, you know, away from his business to take care of his wife. And a couple of weeks ago, she has gone on to glory. So we want to just send our love to the Fontura family. You know, he's been a sheriff that's very visible in the community. But he made it known when it came taking care of his wife, he had to take care of his wife. I think as a matter of fact, he was going to come on during election time, and that's when she had first got sick, and he had regretfully said that he could not come because his wife was sick. But we were going to interview him during the election time, and he said he couldn't come because his wife was sick. And that was the beginning of her illness.
Yeah, no, our condolences. Is that as we close out, other people want to say things as we close out?
I do want to express profound regret and sorrow as we do on our council meeting for our Inspector General Harvey Phillips. His mother has transitioned, and tomorrow we'll be eulogizing her. And there's a community leader. Her name is Ardelie McElroy, and her mother. We just want to send prayers for whatever situations and strength that situations they're in and strength that they need. But other than that, it's just an honor once again. This is the last month of the year. And I'm grateful for Ed Riley. I'm grateful for our Sergeant at Arms, Brother Jonathan. Grateful for Councilwoman Williams, Councilwoman Donna, and definitely grateful for DJ Rhino, who through music, and I couldn't be more grateful for Minister Abdul Haqq Muhammad and Pastor Ali. And I'm gonna give a shout out to Helena Ali, Belina, because Helena is his friend's wife's name, my pastor. But Belina Ali, who is, if those of you who know her, is such a soldier, such a strong, such a real example of independence, first generation, this generation, a woman who doesn't take any tea for the fever and stands her own ground. So he's got someone great standing with him. So I want to give her a shout out on this holiday season, because the work that Pastor Ali has been engaged in over the years has not been an easy work. He's been through his own trials and tribulations, struggles and illnesses that God has brought him through. And then I want to shout out the mayor's mom, his family, all the council people, all the administrations all over not just the city, but the county, the state, and this country and this world, because the season we're in right now, Brother Ed, is a very, 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 very difficult season for some, when they're talking about our bodies and when they're talking about various things that's going on in government to try to block us from moving forward. We just got to start making noise, but we got to also start showing up in numbers. It's one thing to make some noise. We will show up for funerals. We will show up for all of these other things. But to come together for the betterment of our people is something that we don't show up unless some of us are standing in front. I don't care who's in front. If Brother Ed's in front, I'm good. If for a good cause for the people, I'm coming. So I'm just saying, as we move into 2023, let it be what it's going to be for us in a good way. And that's all I have to say tonight. God bless each and every one of you, and have a great, great, great rest of this November. And I guess we'll see you back in December.
And the only thing I have to say, Jonathan, the election in Georgia, will it be before we come back next week? What's the date of the election?
I think it's the 6th. We're back the 2nd, so it's not. Yeah.
We could talk. Okay, I just want everybody to. We'll talk about that next.
Vote. Yeah,
that's
make
right.
Georgia series. We'll talk about
polls
that.
already open. They should start voting now.
Okay, that's right.
Vote
they got to
now.
do it
Vote.
on that. If they got that victory that they want,
That's right.
they can have the early vote. So the shenanigans have begun. So if you know anybody in Georgia, make sure if you got to fly down there to get them to the polls, get them to the polls.
All right. Is there anyone else?
All of them.
God bless everybody, and that's time for the prayers.
It's that Councilwoman.
Each and every one of you.
Before Ali comes, not just that we know anybody in Georgia.
What you said? She froze.
All right.
Children in Georgia, everything, they know the deal.
Yep.
I said not just.
Councilwoman?
No. I would say bye. I said not just that we know anybody, you know anybody in Georgia, anybody anywhere know anybody in Georgia. Call your people in South Jersey. You know anybody in Georgia? Call your people in South Carolina. You know anybody in Georgia? Start sending out posts. I'm gonna put up tonight. You know anybody in Georgia? Get them ready to vote. Because call them and tell them to vote because it's and we got to start doing that. My Lord, we kept out in small numbers and then complain. Stop complaining if you're not going to do nothing. All right, that's it. Good night. Love you.
I know, and we got what I will say. We got 2 minutes, but what I will say, we all know Bishop Reginald Jackson. We do. We all. I'm sorry. We do know. Wait, Jonathan. We know Bishop Reginald Jackson, and he was our pastor in Orange, and now he's down in Georgia, and he's the clergy member that's over there with the Souls to the Polls. So Bishop Jackson has been working very hard. Keep him lifted, and reach out to him and just see if there's anything you can do. Because if you have some work for you to do, he'll let you know.
All right. So
1 minute, we good.
Well, right. So well, we actually 30 minutes over because we were gonna end.
Oh my Lord.
Oh, well, Jonathan, we said 8. I didn't get that memo. I'm sorry.
All right. So,
okay.
Pastor Ed, Zaid, anything, any real quick, real
December
quick.
1st, the Stolen Lives induction ceremony, Saturday live at 7 o'clock. We should have somebody next week on to talk about that. And love to my niece Ghana, who's doing a battle for to save the Haqq House, and then Montclair.
Wow.
And love to Marlene Hilaire, who just lost her son at the hands of Inglewood Police. She will be on next week with us also.
Okay. All right. And Ed?
Well, I think for me, I think that, first off, I just want to say, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I hope everybody had a God blessed one, and, praying for everybody's family and for them as well. And I think that what's riding in my spirit right now is keep living.
Oh, no, you're not going to preach, Ed. It's good.
Keep living, David. Keep living. No, what's riding in my spirit is keep living.
Okay.
That's right.
I heard riding in
That's right. I like that.
Sermon.
Jonathan, don't mess with the Holy Spirit. Let the Holy Spirit do what the Holy Spirit do. Be quiet.
Come on now.
Fair enough.
Don't mess with it.
All right. Rhino. It's good. All right. Love you all. And Ed,
check me out tomorrow.
Love you too, Jonathan.
3 o'clock.
Twitch.tv/Rhino CMZ, 3 p.m.
Wait, say that one more time, Rhino.
Check me out tomorrow, regular time, 3 p.m. for the Saturday Shake Up. I said twitch.tv/Rhino CMZ.
All right. Love you all, man. I love you all. And I appreciate us all being here, too. So I always like seeing you. Love you much. And Ed, thanks for the shout out for that 30 years, man. It's been a long time. Love you much, man.
Number one.
Peace.
Own it.
Number one.